Oh, today's show is going to excite you. It is going to self-care you in ways that maybe you've never thought of before. We're going to be diving into taking that unwritten story. I was listening to Natasha Bedingfield this morning and that song Unwritten. And I was sharing with Rory back in the green room before we got on for the show today. And I said, there's so much that I felt in my life, especially in burnout, that was just this story inside of me, this mission, this purpose that was unwritten until I got out of burnout and I started to write my story. And Rory is bringing in some amazing things today. So my guest today is Rory Lemon, better known as Rory Lemonade over on LinkedIn. And he's also on Instagram and such a phenomenal human. He is a mental fitness trainer and neurocreative leadership coach. He empowers heart-driven and neurodiverse creative professionals to navigate scattered sensitivities and perfectionism, to master the mind, routines, projects, prosperity, and brilliance. Rory is a highly experienced and empathic somatic coach specializing in supporting neurodiverse individuals on their journey towards personal growth and empowerment. And I cannot wait to share this with you today. We're going to be talking about three key topics when it comes to being that creative, heart-centered person. And you might be an entrepreneur already. This might be something that's the unwritten dream, the sparkle, the glimmer in your soul, and you're ready to do it, but you feel like you just don't have the path. We're going to talk about three strategic ways to do this today. Rory's going to join us, and we're going to be talking about health. We're going to be talking about wealth, and we're going to be talking about stealth. I cannot wait for this conversation. Stick around.
Burnout's kicking in hard, feels like a war song. Can't keep dragging my feet, lost in the unknown. Cable jeans got the plan to lift me higher. Real self-care mantra, spark that fire. Energize, optimize, break the chains down. Feel the power in me, I'm gonna show how. Let the real self-care rekindle my spark. No more shadows, living strong in the dark.
Rory, welcome to the show. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited you are here today.
Thanks, Carol Jean. It's difficult to even sometimes bring out words, isn't it, to describe how we feel. So yeah, I'm here and excited.
Yes. Oh, I know. Over the last couple of years, we've done several things together, and every time we get in a room together, I get the happy tingles, all the sparks of joy, the whiz pops in my brain, all of the things that happen in my heart. You are that person for me, and I love, love, love that we get to share this today. And thank you so much for joining me for Self-Care September, because I think when we talk about self-care, specifically for our population and community of neurodivergent and disabled humans, so much self-care that's out there does not work for us. It is really, truly not our self-care. And I think as a creative, as a heart-centered creative person, as an entrepreneur myself, this was a place that I would pour myself into and would burn out. Oh my gosh, because I was like all out. And because I was heart-centered, and so my heart was so wide open that it wasn't in alignment with those things that we're gonna be talking about today, the health, the wealth, and the stealth, which I love. We're gonna be talking about that. But Rory, I know that you've had your own experience, and part of the beauty of the show here at Beyond Chronic Burnout is to help other people recognize that, hey, you may not be alone. Somebody else may not have described their burnout experience in a way that you relate to completely, and yours just might be the thing. So, Rory, my question for you is, as we start, how has burnout showed up for you? What did that feel like? What did that sound like? Or, in your brain, like thoughts you had, maybe how did it impact your relationship? But how did burnout impact maybe your business as an entrepreneur and a creative?
Thanks for this question, because it's really important to reflect back on these situations in a way in which we can raise awareness, as you are wonderfully doing. So thank you. And so for me, there was two distinct times that I went, or three distinct times when I went through burnout as such, and they all had different flavors to them, as it were. So that I will talk about the main one that started me off on the health and self-care tip, or drove me into this healthcare world, as it were. So it sort of really initially came back from the school grades I had, and the school grades, basically I felt like I was choosing who I was based on the feedback from school, going, oh, that's not for me, then I'm more of an artist, I'm more of a compassionate person, and more of a less assertive, not a business kind of person, and all that kind of like self-declaring meant that I felt like I was, again, like we all potentially as neurodivergents, if you identify as that, it feels like we're different and away from what's perceived as the standard acceptable thing to be doing, such as going, hey, look at me, and buy, sell. So that's what I had in my mind, and I was like, it made me feel a bit I was repulsed, but then also frustrated, and that frustration was like a champagne bottle, kind of just sitting there, slowly moving around, and it was building up, and I didn't realize that, and it took my first proper relationship to end in a not just I was wondering how I sourced it in a way that, because it's not just all about the person doing something to end it. It's about how that could be potentially created through our own patterns and our own subconscious, even if we don't like to think about that. That can actually be what our belief systems in the background are creating that reality in some ways. So I was like, but all of that aside, the relationship ended, and then I fell into a place of psychosis, and it was very, very sort of subtle and slow, but I guess I just didn't know that. I wasn't aware enough of my emotions. I just was dealing with it, and it was all going very, very well. And then that just happened, and even though I was like, I'm a really forgiving kind of person, and I didn't even blame anyone else, but that meant that I didn't realize I was blaming myself or being frustrated with myself. So all of that came along, and then it snapped at that point. And yeah, so I had 14. I was so lucky to have. So what actually happened in that space that I could describe was, as I had a thread that it wasn't real, that was what was going on wasn't real, but it was like this loop of anxiety and believing that I'd broken myself in some way, and I didn't know how to get out of it, even though I didn't believe the thoughts and the feelings that were coming in, and the sort of assumptions and that the audio hallucinatory kind of things around hatred that I was sometimes hearing. There's mainly thoughts inside, but sometimes I actually physically thought I heard these things being said, and that's where I was looking at people's lips. I'd look around, and it was like, no, I don't. Even though I was like full of dread and worry, I just thought they didn't say that. I'm sure they didn't say that, but I just didn't know how to turn it off. It was like a tap that was running, and I couldn't grab it and turn it off. So there was a point where I couldn't sleep, and I was like this, and I was having really lucid dreams about, skeletons and being unable to move, or moving and not being able to stop moving, and there's like circling my room, just like going round and round, grabbing onto things, going whoa, and not being able to stop. And that was my roller coaster of a night of sleep. So and then going back and just working and sort of eye flickering, pretending to be like, everything's okay. So at that point, luckily, I did reach out to my mother, and she had been studying all through her life around how to use natural methods to do healings and things like that. So she just studied and was trying to practice reflexology. So I had reflexology for 14 weeks, and that in that 14 weeks, it started to get a bit worse as I was starting to relax. And but then, there's a higher level of trust and love connected to that system of pure touch to help relaxation. But it just showed how much relaxation could work, and deep relaxation, knowing that the nervous system is safe. And in 14 weeks, I can categorically say I felt like I was back to where I was before anything. I was able to enjoy myself. I didn't have any of that going on, and I was kind of almost in shock of where that wasn't happening. And I did have the sort of PTSD style flashbacks and concerns about that happening again, and that was regular for the next 10 years. But I was just then regulating where I was at, but with more pangs of anxiety going on. But it did trigger me to learn massage, and I did that for 8 years, and then studied osteopathy.
Thank you so very much for truly just showing up and sharing, because that is just something that people are terrified when it happens. It can feel so scary, even if you have this glimmer that it's not real. There's this other part of you that goes, but what if it is? And you're like looking to see, did someone just say that? Or I'm in the room by myself. Why did I just hear something? And, I've had someone really close to me have that happen. And I know how terrified they were, and to be able to seek help and to share it with your mom was really beautiful. And when you were sharing and talking about the regulating your nervous system and the touch and that 14 weeks of reflexology, it's so interesting when we talk about that element of self-care, of touch, the importance of touch. Because I think within my research, our sensory system, 100% of research respondents said an element of my sensory system is heightened. Number one, and one of the highest things is light sensitivity. The other is sensitivity to touch. Because we are so on alert, our nerve endings are at a heightened state. And so any type of touch, from clothing to, someone actually hugging or touching you, can be very painful. And I think for me, I experienced like this disconnection from my body, because my body was not safe, because it was feeling things that other people said weren't normal or were weird or didn't quite fit. And then I got teased, picked on, or bullied or othered because I expressed how I was experiencing something through a physical sensation. And that was a really big place. So thank you so much for sharing that. And if you are out there and you've just heard this and went, oh God, I have maybe experienced this, or I was terrified to tell anybody, please know that you can reach out to one of us, and we are here to support and hear your story, because you matter, and it's a scary place to be, and you don't have to be there alone. Well, Rory, I know that this experience led you to this healthcare journey, this beautiful healthcare journey, and to where you are today. So from this place of school and other people telling you who you were and going, okay, well, I guess this is who I am, but this doesn't really feel authentic. Guys, authenticity, we know that is some powerful stuff around here. That's your personal power. How did you begin to step into this heart-centered entrepreneurship and creatorship that you have now? How did that transition?
Very, very slowly at first. As I say, like I felt this phenomenal shift when that happened, and I got into massage to want to help others, but it was only through an interface of at that point what was known. I thought, well, that's going to be easily known, so I'll do hands-on treatment, and it'll hopefully help people with their health. But I also at the same time, there was a point where I was only back to where I thought I knew who I was then at that point before any of that happened. So I was still frustrated with the system. I was still blaming the system underneath and blaming myself. I was only back to like baseline of being able to enjoy life and thrive and smile and go and dance and all the nice things. But there was also this thing of I had no idea what else could be. But at the same time, my mantra in my background, I've only just realized this in the last couple of years, but I realized I had a mantra going on, which is what else is possible to change? What else is possible to change? What else is possible to change?
Yes.
So I totally just carried on doing that, but just doing what I've realized around potentially what can be autistic traits with the neurodiverse spectrum, which is to get fanatical about something in order to keep regulating. And so first it was music.
I don't think anybody in this room knows anything what you're talking about.
First it was guitars and music at 16 to 24. So that's what part of my story was before, that I just listened to music for 8 hours a day, or play for as long as I could, and that was for 8 years non-stop. And then I moved into DJing and music production and listening to music in that way, and that was from 24 to 33 before I got into doing osteopathy, and I had to put everything off to the side to study that master's level. That's when I discovered I was dyslexic, and I call it I got qualified in dyslexia because I believe that it was useful to see the difference between what my type of dyslexia was and what the neurotypical neurophysiology of the brain was like, as well as we were studying that. So I got to see the two parallels, referencing myself alongside what I was studying, and that was where I started to get the support, because I had to insist on the test, because again it was all about not knowing or believing that I could communicate my ideas, which meant that was the frustrating part as well, not just about what the narrow version of intelligence is taught at school, but also what it is in terms of what else is possible to change in terms of my communication system. So I got to practice that and get better at that. That's completely, actually, what I thought was I'm non-academic turned into, oh yeah, half of academia is all about sitting down and writing and reflecting and journaling and creating themes and all the qualitative style parts of research, which if anyone's listening to this and they're that kind of more love analysis and stuff like that, we can get caught up in the analysis of what's problem solving, but we can also channel that energy into developing ideas and looking for patterns. I call us pattern spotters when we're in that mode, and that's a better term than dyslexia for sure for me. And so moving into this space of, I started to be able to communicate better and practice talking. I got confidence in that. As soon as I got that confidence and the diagnosis, I was able to go, okay, I can just be me in group conversations and be silent and then just say when I want to, even though all that still it was like I say, it's a very slow transition. I was still frustrated, but I was able to just relax, going, oh, that's what I find useful about a diagnosis. But again, what else is possible to change has completely. As soon as I was told about how to speed read, I was told to look at how to speed read. I watched 3 short YouTube videos on how to speed read. Then I could speed read, because I get reasoning really well, but it was just how to actually describe my ideas coming in or taking in information coming in was slow as well. So, and that's all tweaked and refined. I can still see where there's clear marked differences, but yeah, I'm able to do all of that now, and that was only through the coaching. So coming out of osteopathy into a space of wanting to help others to stay out of the treatment room, and I thought, I'm going to be a coach, and that's one quality that I feel like has benefited me, which is always a case of seeing the vision, which helps with the leadership and a part of it all is to go and imagine being somewhere and then just taking actions regardless of how I feel to get there, regardless of what's going on. I'll just say that I'm going to be a coach now. I am a coach. I can coach in whatever I know about coaching, and that will help whoever doesn't know that, even if it's just this much. But then as soon as I opened up that world and got fanatical about coaching, what happened?
You are amazing. It's what you are. That's what happened. So, Rory, I want to dive into these 3 big topics that you have to share today with our heart-centered creatives who are seeking to either grow their entrepreneurial journey or begin it for the first time and begin writing their story. So, you say the place to begin is with healthcare, with healing. So, what does this mean? Share about this with us.
Yes. Okay. Well, we all know what healthcare is externally, but actually that's what services can provide and things like that. But when we're talking about healing, we're talking about our own capacity and inner resources. So and just because there's the 3 topics, so health, wealth and stealth, I've just mentioned that in comparison, what I believe, if we look at it, is there's healthcare is what we do for self-care, for our inner resources, but self-care then also blends into what wealth care might be, which is external resources. And that's not just talking about finances, but coming back to healthcare, it's all about what the inner resources are, and signals and stories that we have potentially are managing or maintaining either a way of being or a condition, and what else is possible to change around it. So for me, it's that healthcare is about what the inner resources are, and we can forget as humans we have a negative bias to go what could go wrong in order to protect ourselves, but it's automated so quickly that we'll go round into I've got a condition, I've got this, and I've got that. And as soon as we're associating ourselves with that and we believe we have it, and especially if we're told by someone else that there's nothing that can be done, and we believe that, then what is going to happen? Don't go to Greece. There's mad crazy men with guns. you're gonna go I'll go anywhere else in the world other than Greece, just in case, you know. So it's all like there's an extreme example of what may happen if we're told something by someone. It's always worth like getting second opinions about stuff, and I'm not saying I'm making claims about what's possible to change, but the curiosity of what else is possible to change is what can drive healthcare for the self.
I could not agree more. And you touched on something when you were sharing your personal burnout experience. And by the way, guys, you need to go check out Rory's pages. He has a phenomenal video that he created where he shared his dyslexic journey, and it is so, so good. But one of the things that you mentioned when you were sharing around your own burnout story and tying into where we're here in the self-care, sort of healthcare and healing part of this, was blaming yourself. And I think that is such a disempowering place when we're in that place. I have so been there. And it's everything is falling apart. Nothing is working in my life. I've done this. The consistent thread in all of this is me. I'm the problem. I'm the one who's wrong. I'm the one who's broken. I'm the one who can't get it right. And then we can believe that because somehow those experiences from that perspective are reinforcing that belief. But there's this place. And I'm going to say, because you guys know this is just one of the things I will tell you every day, all day long. And Rory is here telling you the same thing. It is being the possibilitarian. It is getting compassionately curious and going, well, maybe I'm in the habit and I've exacerbated my biased thinking for negativity because I'm trying to keep myself safe. So that is where I'm going to go first. But there is a law, a universal law of reciprocity. So for every negative thing I think about, there is a positive, there is a hope, there is a possibility. And I think that's such a big part of this part of the self-care. What do you think, Rory?
Yeah, I love what you said there about the possibility, and it's a certain reminder. I think really it's like you can break it down into mental fitness ideas, physical fitness ideas. There's the emotional in the middle. I think emotions are in the middle. They're very difficult to touch. They automatically happen. It's not how we feel until we've had a reaction to it. Then we can feel it. So emotions are sort of got an unconscious part or a subconscious part and a conscious part. So emotions, you can't just say, hey, I'm going to sort my emotions out. You don't need to. They're there for a reason. They're just the signals. So I would just say signals and stories. And these signals and these stories are always locked together until we question them and stay in possibility. So that's the one thing I would say is to go signal, space, story. To put space in it, and then yeah.
Yes. Rory, that's huge. Right there, guys. That is the golden nugget health conversation. That is the self-care conversation right there. The two separate parts that they're so commingled, but taking a pause to separate and go, okay, what's this part? What's the feeling? What's the story? Oh, that's so good. So good, my friend. Thank you for that one. All right, now let's move on to the money bit. Let's move on to the wealth. And I love you call this wheeling. Because, we talk about the underemployment and unemployment rates within our population being so dang high. And I will say, I think for so many of us, not just the unemployment, but I think the underemployment is one of the harshest, most horrible things that happens. It's something that I work towards changing in this world every day. And I think one of the reasons that we experience so much underemployment is number one, so many of us are in burnout. Number two, if we have come to our identification and we've realized the things that we need or where we need more support or accommodation or success enablers in our life, then we go out and the world is still very closed and narrow-minded, and we have to be these production widgets that just fit into anywhere, and we should be like robotic producers. And that is not how humans in general are wired. That's definitely not how we are wired. And so if we're struggling, then people are like, oh, well, I don't want to put them up for a promotion because they've already got too much on their plate because they perceive that we're struggling. Well, we're not struggling with the work part. We're struggling with all the other crap. And I think that is one of the impacts to our wealth. What are some of the things that you have here as heart-centered creatives, as entrepreneurs? Because to me, entrepreneurship is how I got free, y'all. That is how I got free from the oppression of the current work environment that's out there. I had to create my own. And maybe you've come to that realization yourself. Maybe you're like, I just need to create my own space and do my own thing, right? So how do we care for that in the wealth care perspective? Because, money, we all got to have it. It's just part of how we survive, pay the bills and keep the power on and food on the table and clothes on our back and, petrol in the car. What do we need to know, Rory? What's critical here? We're taking a quick pause in the show to share an exciting opportunity. Self-Care September is here. When you register for Self-Care September, you'll get my exclusive self-care guide filled with tools to help you unlock your best energy and well-being. This month-long event features expert guests discussing everything from pain relief and aging to measuring self-care, staying out of burnout during a job hunt, and so much more. Plus, don't miss our special events like 20-minute micro recharge lab sessions with me, Carol Jean, yoga with Lori, and trauma-informed meditation. with Meditation Magazine's editor-in-chief, Kevin Ellerton. It's not too late. Join us today at whittingtonwellbeing.com. Now, let's get back to our self-care conversation.
And I think it's what you're saying there is so important to recognize that whole thing of what's truly important, what's truly needed, because there's always a real basic need to be met. Otherwise, if we ignore that, it's going to keep popping up as an emotion that we will then pick out something and have a story about. So the needs and the wants, often we're meeting those, that the need and the want, the want is good, and it's important to be able to get free enough to just go, I can have what I want. But at the same time, it's a real balance between not trying to desire too much, too soon, too quick, beyond what's possible. So because then we just set ourselves up, and this is one thing I've only just learned, really, and I'm just like, I feel like I've just kicked the boat, and it's just starting to float away from being beached this whole time around wealth, because it wasn't something that I was focusing on. I was focusing out just on the hamster wheel, going round, even with my own ideas, and just thinking I was doing the best I could. I was always working for other people because I couldn't communicate. Now I've developed my own business, and I can only just say that I've spent all this time developing it. And I'm very grateful for the time and the space to be able to do that. But it's a case of bearing that in mind, that whatever we potentially think is not possible is a story around it. So to come back to, like, how do we make things really good? We want to look at what those things are. It's a reflective process, and then we can make little again, micro challenges, micro changes, and sometimes things happen big along the way, but it's often the trying to desire it which sets us back to, like, I don't have it now, which then keeps us where we are a lot of the time. So
Yes. And I'm going to share something with you guys, because to me, this part that you just talked about was the game changer in my entrepreneurial journey. And that is what you're talking about. I'm just going to put it in my Carol Jean words over here. It's gratitude. This jar right here, all these colored pieces of paper, this is just since the beginning of the year. These are all of the things that I am grateful for that I have right now. And I never felt wealth like that wealthy healing, filled fullness of completeness, because I had believed and bought into the needing, and everything was external, and it was never enough. I was never enough, and therefore nothing I ever did was enough, and I didn't bring in anything that was enough or satisfying. And it was this beautiful shift in my wealth care when I began to just stop and go, oh man, I am so grateful. I am so thankful. I was able to take a full breath, and it was those micro things that really led to these places of stepping into an abundance, but an understanding of wealth in a whole new way of beyond monetary. And that's what I hear you sharing here.
Yeah, thank you. That's brilliant way of sharing that, Carol Jean. So that sense of what the difference between gratitude and what gratitude is, again, if we're trying to be grateful as opposed to being grateful, when we are in gratitude, we don't, like they say, that we don't feel like we need anything. So we are truly abundant in that moment, no matter whether it's a short amount of time or, suddenly just realizing that everything that you've got right now is still what you can do with to make something happen with going forwards. Like, oh, I can think myself through a process of what do I really want to create externally. So that reflective process, and then the other angle of that is pleasure seeking, where we're trying to fill a gap. It becomes an addictive process where we don't want to feel the stress, and then it ends up we do something different, and then that's creating again the external environment. So what it comes back to for me is everything to do with wealth is the space you're in, the people that you hang out with.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, so yeah, and then the money is part of that. But if we actually forget about money and think about what it is that's important, then the money comes from when we're going for the thing that we really our heart wants. Because money, it's still important to look at those money stories and put space in between the signals and the stories, and that's important. And to even just feel like whatever I've got right now in terms of finances is what I can do something with, or not do something with as well. There's the whole thing of actually saving up for something important, and
it is sexy to save, y'all. It is sexy.
I'm only just learning that, to be honest with you, but everything is
Me too.
But yeah,
Me too.
yeah, so it's great.
It doesn't. It's one of those places we can go back to the micro, right? We can.
Yeah.
It's super sexy to save, even if it's just starting with like just change, pocket change, because it's. Somebody asked my grandfather one time. I said, well, Mr. Wickham, how did you create your wealth? How do you become wealthy? And he said, you just stack one nickel on top of another. And I'm just like, so autistic, dude. Okay. Really, I loved it because I'm like, yeah, actually, saving is sexy and it doesn't have to be huge. But there's also this energetic shift that happened for me. And Rory, since you're kind of in the same space, I would love to know if this has been something for you. I just started putting little pieces. I set up a separate account, and it's like, that's just for, I don't touch it. Doesn't matter. It's not an emergency fund. It's my let's play and grow. And it doesn't have to be huge. And I just started putting like $5, little stuff. And it's so fun because, it's in an investment. And so I just see things growing. But there was this energetic shift that like I had space to breathe because I had, even if it was like $20 to $30 in that savings account, in that investment account. And I was like, that's mine. And it's growing. And there was just this energetic shift that happened that gave me this sort of inner peace and this feeling of freedom. And I know people would be like, $20, Carol Jean, seriously? I'm like, no, seriously. Seriously. Have you had a similar sort of energetic shift or feeling around that saving is sexy part?
Yes, it's something that as soon as I feel like that's the point. I think it's like the incoming and outgoing. So it's the same for the wealth, and that's like you say. Has there been a shift? Yes, there certainly has, because I'm able to just go, what do I get to just desire and want, and then assume that it will fall into place because I've already declared it by declaring it. That's all I need to do is declare it and want it, but not have a lack it or an urge or a try to desire. Just what do I want? What do I need right now? Everything is covered for what I need right now in this moment. So then that's where the wealth is like, I am wealthy, I am rich with everything, and I get to choose to tidy up my room. I get to choose who I'm talking to, who I'm learning information from, and who I'm getting support from. And the final thing around people, which is, it's a minefield with relationships, but the one thing I will say around this wealth care around relationships is that get feedback from those that have done the thing that you want to do, or feedback from those that are willing to support you no matter who you are, what you are, and believe in you for who you are. Everything else is, it's okay to get feedback from, but expect a difference of an opinion, and that's okay. Micro challenges, if we just stay comfortable with that, it's basically, have we got enough support from experts and those that care, and have we got enough challenge in order to grow? And as soon as we've got a bit that ebb and flow with the wealth and whatever we want to create for our wealth, the work we want to create, and again, that was the other one, work. Obviously work creates the money, so focus on the quality of the work, focus on the quality of the relationships, focus on the quality of your environment, and then boom.
Those are really 3 very powerful keys to wealth care. Curating and being intentional and aware of your environment. Doing the same with your relationships. Who are you allowing to come in and influence? Where are you learning? Who are you learning from? And, who are you sharing with? What's the quality of the work that you're putting out there? Because all of that is our wealth, our being in a state of gratitude is our wealth. All of those things are beautiful keys. Now, I want to move into this last topic we have, which is stealth care, stealing. Oh my gosh. So do elaborate, because this is new to me and I cannot wait to learn all about stealth care.
Yeah, well, it's a term that I came up with in order to put these 2 pieces together. And so if you've got a triangle, you've got health on one side, wealth on the other, as a sort of the what's my inner resources and how do I direct and flow and do all the cool things around that. And there's still quite a few things that I will talk about inside self-care that help with both of these things as well that we could look at. However, so the inner resources and then the wealth being external resources in the center or at the top of the triangle is one of the most important pieces, which is to visualize, see it. And that doesn't mean I have to try and visualize all day, because I also want to remind us as neurodiverse, wonderful beings that we may have a lot of different learning styles or different ways in which we receive information, and we're all unique in that sense. So, but as a general rule, some people can be much more easily able to visualize something and picture it really clearly, and that would explain why there's a lot of visual artists, and maybe more than it's I'd say, like, I won't go into that whether it's maybe or not, but the idea is that I am feeling. I'm much more about feeling how I feel, and that's where the heart center potentially comes in as well. So how I feel about something, or how I want to feel about something, is important, and so that piece is, for me, why I resonate with music and sound initially before visual. I can picture, I've got a great visual storage for what has been known in the past about, I can picture where I've been, or I've got a good visual memory for walking down a road one way, or winding through a town and then remembering the way back. I can do that. But anything new into the future is really fuzzy for me, and that can be a lot of struggles for people that want to get somewhere where they want to get. So the stealth care is the target. And so your what does health look like for you? What does wealth look like for you? And actually designing it and seeing it or feeling it, or some people even actually, which is mind-blowing in some ways, but some people actually receive or see words as words. I saw an interview with one person a little while ago, and this guy was mind blown by this lady, because she doesn't hear thoughts at all.
Yeah,
She
no internal monologue, right?
sees the picture of the words, so she can, like, you know, read whole pages and remember all the pages because she just stores memory through the temporal lobes. Probably that's where the language processing is, so as well. But anyway, so yeah, that idea of how we process and store information through either feelings or visuals or language or whatever it is, because there could be hyperlexia. You know, there's that idea of being hyperlexic, which is really interesting, which is definitely something that I'm going from dyslexic to being more lexic, definitely. But yeah, either way, so yeah, I've said a lot, but the idea of healthcare, wealth care, and stealth care is the sense of to round up that, what does stealth care mean to me, which is the target, you know, because it's like, where am I going, but also it's also about the channeling of the energy into it, and that it can be a secret until it's done. It's really about whether you notice whether you're the type of person that's saying a lot of stuff and it's not getting done, but you're talking about it a lot, because it may be a lot of energy going into talking about something, but not actually actually just spending the time focusing, developing the idea. Because if it's not clear enough, then the brain can't look out for it. Stealth care and the stealing is to be knowing what you want. So there's stealing, obviously. As soon as you say stealing, it's like, oh, taking from another. And when you look at the typical term, it's taking something without someone's permission, but actually that's someone else's permission. If you're taking it for yourself, with from the universe, or whatever you want to call it, if you're declaring something that you want for yourself and making sure that you're not giving out too much, talking too much, and it's for you to make your life the way you want it, you're stealing what is already from abundance. So
Okay, so let me recap what I learned and picked up from you teaching me about stealth care just now and stealing. So, stealth care is stepping into our true creatorship and our personal power, where we are, be it envisioning through words or however that process is, but setting the vision for our future, our destination with intention and feeling and crafting that. And in the stealing, what we're doing is not taking from another, but we are actually shoring up and strengthening within ourselves. We are stealing, like STEEL,
yeah,
stealing ourselves with our own creation of intention and destination. Did I get that?
yeah, that's essentially the being selfish from a point of view of not being, nothing's truly good or bad unless we're perceiving it. And yeah, there may be completely things that we really find struggling to find that are immoral, that people do. It's immoral, but at the end of the day, if we are holding on to that and judging that, that's all we're doing, is holding on to the self-judgment. It's actually self-judging in disguise. So to really remember that. And again, the stealth is to go, do I get to create this and work on it for myself without telling anyone until it's actually done. And again, only disclosing enough to people that know and have got that target to help you get there, or that are going to support you enough to just go, I support you with it no matter what. I'm not going to stop you, sort of thing.
So we tie back to that wealth care when we're talking about our relationships.
Yeah.
And something that I heard and learned around relationships a while back that I'll throw into this as we move into talking about something juicy you have coming up, which is one of the questions I ask around people in my life and relationships is, have they earned the right to hear my truth? And do they have the skills and ability to receive it and reciprocate with it? That's pretty. I think you have tied in some beautiful things today. So, Rory, tell people where they can connect with you over on LinkedIn and tell us more about this amazing workshop that you have coming up for heart-centered creatives, entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So if you can find me on LinkedIn, if that's a good platform for you. I'm on Facebook. If you just look Rory Lemon Aid online, you'll find me in the various places that I am. I'm sort of drip feeding things into Instagram. I'm findable on there, and all that's all good. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn are the main ones that I just work with at the moment in terms of reaching out and connecting with people.
What are the dates for your workshop, and who is it for, and what are they going to learn?
Yes. So we're starting on the 18th of September. It's an intensive 3 weeks. It's designed to really, for those that are really open, honest, committed, and recognize that they really want to get something done. And we're going to play with this healthcare, wealth care, and stealth care to actually get something done within that. So maybe shifting the energy of a bad habit to a productivity goal is a really useful tool to go, I want to give up this. At the same time, I'm going to focus on this whilst I do it, so that my brain avoids it automatically by getting excited about making something. And that can either be someone that's forgotten about their creative flow and want to get back into something and just pick something, and we go deep on the vision enough to get really we want passion, we want passion, we want power, we want stepping into our power, we want to play with it, and we want a process. And I've got the principles and the frameworks that are then givable to run through as a system that then your own personal process can be found with feedback along the way. And we're going to declare, either and again, it could be someone getting into their creative project, again, just getting back into anything that helps them for the health care, and or if you want to get into wealth care, is it a side hustle, something that maybe just is a startup idea or something, or is it a leaving a job and actually taking the chance, not the chance, but again, if you recognize that if we focus on exactly what the health, wealth, and stealth looks like for you, then it channels anyway, and just it channels, so you can create what you want with the right focus and attention. And notice that that's what's happened up until now with everything that is in your life, for instance, regardless of whether you feel like it's your choice or not. It has been a choice as soon as when we become aware of it. So no matter how we feel, and that's where we get to. I think that's where I certainly needed the help to go. Okay, right, cards on the table. Let's and all the crap comes out, and but at the same time having a passionate focus. And so yeah, it could be jumping out of an old job into a new entrepreneurial vision, or transitioning that, or even just taking a creative role to a next level. The idea is that if you resonate with my story, that I got these frameworks that help me specifically. So I'm not going to say, hey, yes to everyone. I want to make sure that the people are committed. So that's why I want to speak with people before they jump in, unless you're like, let's go. I mean, most people don't want to spend money without being sure anyway. So the offer's there to have a talk with me. And
I love it, because they can come have a talk with you, make sure this is a right fit for them, that it's going to give them what they're looking for. Because at the end of this 3-week intensive, they're going to have a plan. They're going to have real clarity around their health, their wealth, and their stealth. Am I right?
Yeah.
And you do indeed have the framework. I'm telling you guys, when we talk about just pure genius and how Rory thinks and puts things together, and simplifies it to make a step-by-step process. He really, really does. If you just go read some of his posts, go look at some of those things, it will immediately be very apparent to you he has just got this beautiful brain. So go check out Rory Lemonade over on any of your social media platforms. And hey, if you have not yet registered for our Self-Care September that's happening right now, this conversation is part of Self-Care September, and you want to get my full guide for self-care this month in September. It comes with a template for your own creating your own personalized self-care plan, comes with a whole list of affirmations to help you set your intention so that you are working on your wealth care and your stealth care in self-care. Go get it at whittingtonwellbeing.com. Go sign up. We have some live events coming up next week. We have the amazing Lori Davidson, who's going to be sharing a yoga class with us. It's all under 20 minutes. Micro recharge sessions with me to get you into that steady state, to boost your rest, to boost your recharge and your energy battery. All available when you register at whittingtonwellbeing.com for Self-Care September. Guys, thanks for joining us today, and I'll see you next week with all of our amazing episodes and events. See you then. Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here. It's been quite a ride. Energy mastery, let's turn the tide. Top shelf guests, dropping wisdom bombs. Join us next week, where the